He's Pierre McGuire. He was inside the glass, the analyst for NBC and NBC Sports Network, and was there last night with the Rangers going to the Stanley Cup Final, and Pierre joins us now. Pete, if I said at the beginning of the season, Rangers' chances of playing for the Cup, what would you have said?
Probably around 50%. I thought they were a little bit better, Dan, than most people thought, only because of Henrik Lundqvist, because I had a working relationship going back to Ottawa with Alain Vigneault, and I watched him progress as a coach, and I thought that he would be the right tonic for the team in terms of a more of a relaxed atmosphere around their dressing room and on the ice and at practice, and he'd play more of an up-tempo game. And I thought some of their young players like Ryan McDonough, like Carl Hagelin, like Chris Kreider would really thrive with his tutelage. And they obviously have one of the best goalies in the National Hockey League in Henrik Lundqvist. So I thought they were actually a little bit better than most people gave them credit for.
Was there a moment during the season that it changed for the Rangers where all of a sudden they became a legitimate contender?
Yeah, I would say probably in late November, early December, Dan. You could just see their confidence was starting to soar. There were a lot of things about Henrik Lundqvist's game that were positive. He got his long-term deal signed. Everybody knew who was going to the Olympics, and the team just became very comfortable with itself. And you could just see that Alain Vigneault's methods were really working with the team. They went from playing a zone defense in their own zone and playing straight man-to-man. That played into the mobility of their defense. They started pushing the pace more. That played into the role of their smaller players who are really quick. So I would say late November, early December, you started to say, maybe the Rangers are for real.
And then you had the Martin St. Louis situation where his mother died as we were headed towards Mother's Day, and just I don't know how teams rally around that or how long that lasts, but can you put some kind of percentage on that momentum or that what it did to the team? I
can't put a number on it, Dan, but I can tell you this. The way it was handled by the Rangers ownership, by their management people, led by Glenn Sather, by their coaching staff, led by Alain Vigneault, and by the players in particular, led by Brad Richards, his former teammate and real good friend from Tampa Bay. You put it all together. The Rangers came together as a family. I did their Game 5 in Pittsburgh where they won. They were down 3-1. They were booed off the ice at Madison Square Garden in Game 4. And they just rallied around one another in the corner of the rink at the morning skate, and you could just see this was a team that was ready to really take off. They came together. They won that game going away. They won in Game 6 handily, and you know what? They went on the road and won in Game 7, and you could just sense that they were for real.
Got a berth in the Stanley Cup Final on the line tonight, certainly for the Kings. Coverage begins at 8 Eastern with NHL Live. You can see that game, NBC Sports Network. We're talking to Pierre McGuire, the NBC Sports hockey analyst. Who should the Rangers be rooting for tonight?
A Game 7, how's that, Dan?
Yeah.
Make it go as long as possible because I think both these teams would have a little bit of an advantage if it were to end in Game 6 for Los Angeles. If it goes to Game 7, then I think it becomes problematic for both teams, Los Angeles and Chicago, just because the Rangers will have been rested and most of their injured guys will get healthy. So if I were a Ranger fan, I'd be cheering for a Game 7 and hoping Chicago wins. But it's two similar teams, Chicago and Los Angeles. They're big, they're deep, they're fast. They're one team, I think, slightly better in goal, Los Angeles, compared to Chicago, even though Corey Crawford's won the Cup. He still, I don't think, has the same pedigree as Jonathan Quick. But outside of that, I mean, you're talking about two very even teams.
You have to pick a goalie of the goalies remaining.
Lundqvist.
Not even close?
Well, I think it's close. I think it's really close with the two other guys on the Western side. But Hank's had a focus, Dan, I can tell you, since the Olympics, where he took a very undermanned Swedish team to the gold medal game where they got beat by Canada, the best team at the tournament by far, in a comfortable manner. But Henrik has had this focus ever since the Olympics where he's been extremely tough to beat. I know he was embarrassed by his performance in Game 5 of the Montreal series, but you could see last night a 1-0 shutout win, and he was spectacular at times in that game number 6 last night.
Before I let you go, it feels like the unspoken rule of hockey players is that you will get back on the ice no matter what the injury is, right?
That's correct.
Now, do you? Is it nothing needs to be said? Is it just you're a hockey player and you return to the ice, whether you have a broken jaw or a broken leg or? What's the most amazing things you've seen as, either a coach or player or an analyst where you thought a guy, there's no way, and then he eventually comes back?
Guys playing with teeth, they pull out their own teeth. They get hit in the face. They pull out their own teeth on the bench. They go right back in. Guys that have played with broken arms, broken hands. I had a player in the '92 final who will remain nameless. He always asked me never to mention his name. We'd have to go in the training room, and he would take a needle that would be about, I'd say, 6 to 8 inches, if I remember correctly, and basically shoot it right through the middle of his hand. And then he'd go out and play. So I've seen a lot of unbelievable stuff where
Did
guys
you ever get blood on you?
Oh, yeah, lots of it, yeah.
No, as a reporter.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, because you're right there. What do you...
Oh, yeah, for sure you get blood on you. You get a lot of spit on you, too, believe it or not.
Any teeth come your way?
You know what? Not my way, but I've seen them right on the ice in front of me, and the trainer said, do you see them? And it's hard because white on white is probably tough to see, but you kind of put them in the general vicinity. The trainer will say, do you see them? You see them? We're going to try to save them. And I'm like, okay. And I can speak to that because I've lost my teeth, my front ones, so I know what it's like. It's not very glamorous.
So we got the game coming up tonight, and then we'll maybe move to the Stanley Cup Final.
Are you joining us, Dan?
No. I'm just going to watch. I want to go to the Garden. Well, when it's either going to be in Chicago or L.A. to start. Is that right?
Right. That is correct.
Okay.
It'll start in the West.
Maybe I could be like your assistant inside the glass.
The last Patrick that was my assistant did very well for me in Sochi. Jack was outstandingly good. He's a brilliant young fellow. You should be very proud of your son. I know you are.
Well, he, I think, hung around you just because he knew you were going to buy beer. So
I'm good at that, too, Dan.
You
I
are.
had a good teacher.
You are like Gretzky when it comes to buying beer.
I try to make my wingmen better yet.
Hey, get some rest. Thanks for joining us.
Dan, anytime. Thank you very much for having me.
Pierre McGuire, inside the glass analyst, former NHL coach, assistant coach.